Let's talk about some key elements for how to actually play Darius. This is going to be general to aggro decks for the most part. You don't want to overcommit, and you only want to send out units to battlefields as you need to. If the battlefield's uncontested, send a 2 might guy there. Don't send your Darius Trifarian there. You have to keep in mind that battlefields are where units are most vulnerable to removal spells, to being killed by battle, lots of these types of things. So you don't want to overcommit when you can help it. Generally, things are going to be much safer in your base versus when you send them out to battlefields. So only really send out what you need to. The next tip is you really want to know when you're going for a Legion turn and when you're not. So it's very, very important to learn, and you will learn this with more repetition. You want to learn what your hand is allowing you to do in terms of, can you really play multiple cards that turn and really set up your Legion to get value out of your leader effect, or is the best thing to do is just play a Draven into your base and pass to set it up for the next turn. You're going to have to evaluate what your board looks like, what your opponent's board looks like, learn some of the matchups, try to memorize what removal and what other spells they might have access to that can mess with what you're trying to do, and then make the best play accordingly. I know that's super non-specific, overly vague advice, but it's super, super important in this game to really learn your matchups and learn what staple cards each and every color has access to. And that's especially important in an aggressive deck like this, where your units don't always have the strongest abilities and you're really trying to keep them alive and preserve the value they're generating, because generally, as the game goes on for more and more turns, your win percentage or your likeliness of winning as Darius goes lower and lower. Tangentially, you also want to understand matchups when it comes to your mulligan. For example, you have a lot of removal in this deck, but when is your removal most applicable? If you're up against a Kaisa deck, for example, where they don't play as many units as some other decks and they really focus in on spells to remove your units, you want to throw away most of your removal if you open it in your opening hand via the mulligan and try to draw into more units to outpace their removal and really just put the gas on and be as aggressive as possible, versus if you're playing against a deck like Volibear that plays huge units that you can't really beat in battle, you may want to keep that copy of Noxian Guillotine in your hand in order to remove that Cadrigan later on in the game.